Freudenschade, baby! Well, the dummies right now are celebrating a Politico poll that shows Donald Trump will probably lose this great state of Florida where I am right now. Here's the problem. Number one, well, first of all, as we're going to see, the poll was conducted by Fernand Amandi, who has got a big reputation down here of being extreme Trump Derangement Syndrome. He suffers from it. I'm going to show you some evidence of that in a little bit. Also, the other thing to consider is the problem in Florida hasn't been with the actual real votes. It's been with the fraudulent votes. And the two biggest counties which produce fraudulent votes for the Democrats. You see what happened in this past election? Rick Scott was way ahead for the Senate race, and DeSantis was also had a very comfortable margin over that crook Gillum. But what happened is after the election polls closed, all of a sudden, especially from Broward, they produced all these votes that were coming in, and the margin just narrowed and narrowed and narrowed. Same thing to a lesser extent in Palm Beach County, which is also a corrupt county. But the good news is that in both of these counties, the governor, Scott, and then later DeSantis in Palm Beach counties, replaced the supervisor of elections in each of these counties. And now the supervisors of both counties are honest people. So we're not going to have to worry too much in 2020 about corruption from these counties. In fact, in 2016, when I was seeing the polls come in, I wasn't even looking at what was happening in the rest of the country. I was completely consumed by Florida. And as always happens, Broward County was coming in last, even after the Panhandle, which the polls closed there an hour later at 8. And despite the fact the polls closed an hour later in the Panhandle, guess what? Broward was slow in reporting it. But thank God that Trump had a wide margin, over 100,000 votes. So even Broward couldn't produce that many fraudulent votes. But they were hanging back. I mean, if it had been closer, if Trump was only leading by, say, 20,000 votes, good chance they could have stolen an election here in Florida. So anyway, the dummies are celebrating this fraudulent poll, which admits that it oversampled Democrats. So let's go ahead and take a look at their Freudenschade celebration for the defeat of Trump in Florida, so they think. Let's go. So let's look at the fake poll from Mr. Trump Derangement Syndrome Amandi that the dummies are now celebrating. So here, this is posted by Dummy Brooklynite. It says, Trump in trouble in Florida poll. Source, Politico. Oh, if it's Political, it must be true. I'm gonna show you the poll itself and why it's fake. Very fake. You know, you should have gotten a hint that Amandi is behind this poll, and that guy is extreme Trump Derangement Syndrome. So let's go. Let's read. This is from Politico. Donald Trump is in trouble in Florida, a state that's crucial to his re-election hopes. Just 40% of Florida voters said they believe the president should be re-elected, while 53% were opposed to a second term, according to a new Bendixen and Amandi. That's Fernand Amandi, Trump Derangement Syndrome Amandi international poll. Trump's approval ratings were also poor, with 43% having a favorable impression of Trump and 52% viewing him unfavorably and 46% very unfavorably. Trump's approval ratings look even worse when compared with the man he helped make governor, Ron DeSantis, who has a 50% approval rating, while only 23% disapprove. Trump is in trouble. Pollster Fernand Amandi should be Trump Derangement Syndrome pollster. This guy is a wacko, believe me. He was on the WIOD radio leading up to the 2016 election, citing all these stats
and he had such an air of superiority of anybody who supported Trump, that they couldn't possibly win. Yeah, I would have loved to have seen. I would have loved if there was a camera on Amandi on election night. In fact, one of the things the dummy funnies here I'm going to try to do, I would love to get an interview with Amandi and ask him for what happened with him on election night, what his reactions were. But let's get back to this. Trump is in trouble, pollster Fernand Amandi said, noting that 23% of all Florida Republicans said he doesn't deserve re-election. When that many people from your own party don't support you, it means you have to spend more time consolidating your base. Yeah. Is that the same polls that showed that because almost no Hispanics were going to support Trump in 2016, meant that he would lose Florida, and it turned out 29% approved. And by the way, I'm going to get back to that stat to show why Amandi's own poll is actually tremendous news for Trump. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So stick with this, because I want to actually show his poll in a little bit. But just real briefly, let's look at the dummy reaction. It says, and remember, that's before Mueller's report is fully exposed. Right. His report is going to somehow show Trump-Russia collusion. No, all indications are it won't. It'd be extreme surprise if it did. Florida elections are so crooked. Does it matter? Well, it does matter now, because luckily, as I said just before, the supervisor of elections of the two crookedest counties, Broward especially, right here where I'm talking to you from, Sykes, that crook Sykes has been replaced by Governor Scott, and then DeSantis later replaced the crooked supervisor up in Palm Beach County. So I don't think we're going to have to worry too much about fraudulent votes in those counties for 2020 election. This Brooklynite says the tide has already turned, even in Florida. Phew, man. Yeah, Freudenstadt, baby. Yes. Yeah, more, please. More of this. Please, please. More fake polls. Please tell us. Give us more fake polls. The problem with the poll is that only half of that, 52%, will actually vote, while all of the 43% will vote. It's Florida. Well, at least you're ready for what is going to happen in 2020. So anyway, let's get right to the poll, because this is real important. I want to show you how fake this poll is. Fernand Amandi. Well, you should have, when you heard Amandi, you shouldn't have known it was fake. So right now, let's go to his own fake poll up at the Politico. Okay, we're at the poll of Trump Derangement Syndrome Amandi. Like I said, you can't underestimate this guy's extreme TDS. But let's look at his own methodology. Right away, we're going to see a problem here with it. Okay, methodology. 602 interviews with registered Florida voters likely to participate in the 2020 general election. Okay, stand by. With an oversample of 300 registered Democrats. So already they're saying this is oversampled. Margin of error, 4 percentage points. So it could be off by 4, which is probably the case since he already admitted an oversample of 300 registered Democrats. Now, let's look at why this is actually, in a way, if you know how to read this, is actually pretty damn good news for Trump. So here, this is, do you have a favorable or unfavorable opinion of President Donald Trump? Okay, very and somewhat favorable, 43%, somewhat very unfavorable, 52%, which in the real world, let's face it, from the last election, you could easily add 5% to the 43% there for very somewhat favorable and deduct 52%. So already Trump is ahead there, 48 to 47. But you know what? Let's get to some more solid evidence of why this is actually a damn good poll for Trump. So already we're getting a hint here, favorable. This is among people that speak English and Spanish. This is significant, 43% favorable among people that speak Spanish. Okay, now, This is overall. Do you believe Trump should be reelected in 2020 as president? 53% no, 40% yes. But let's look at the special breakdown here, and this is going to actually. Oh, yeah, here we go. Wait. All right. Let's look at the breakdown by his own poll. This is Amandi's own poll by ethnicity. Okay. This is favorable opinion of Trump. 50% white Anglo, African American 15%, which is actually pretty high for a Republican. And actually, I think it's a lot higher. But here's a significant one. Hispanic, 48%. Okay, remember that number, 40%. Because guess what? In 2016, when Trump won Florida by over 100,000 votes, and that's with all the corruption going on, by the way, his share of the Hispanic vote at that time of favorable for Trump was 29%. 29%. And now it's 40%. You got that? 40%. It's a significant jump. So if this holds up, and I think it'll be higher, but if Hispanic is 40% in 2020, which they're saying here favorable, that means Trump will win Florida by even a wider margin than is over 100,000 last time. So this is from his own poll, 40%. Now, I want to show you something. One other thing, we're going to look at one stat here that shows how phony and fake this poll is. And this has to do with, okay. Now here, finally, there's other things wrong with this poll, but let's get to just narrow it down to highest level of education. Just keep in mind, in 2016, Hillary was ahead of Trump by 9% among college graduates. So look here. It says, what is the highest level of education that you have completed? This is Florida. Here, you see this? College graduate, 51%. You see that? 51%. Does that seem a little bit high for Florida? Well, if you think so, you would be right, because right now I'm going to go to right now I'm going to show you right here my handy dandy stats. Okay, here we go. This is a very detailed for Florida of the stats. This is from a statistical atlas for Florida. Now, here you go. This is Florida. 17.8% bachelor's degree, master's degree 6.9%. So 2% professional, and doctorate 1.1%. So this is approximately almost 28%. That's 28%, not 51%, 28%. So this is his stats are almost double, show almost double for college graduates. So if Hillary was ahead by 9%, that means he's off by somewhere like 3-4% right there, just on the education alone. So as I said, this is fake news. Don't believe it. Plus, like I said, we have honest people now running the elections boards in Broward and Palm Beach County. So, you know what, dummies? Go ahead and celebrate. But you know what? When Trump wins Florida by a landslide in 2020, you can direct your anger at being misled by one Trump Derangement Syndrome patient, Fernand Amandi. He's the guy that led you astray. So go ahead and believe the fake poll. But again, keyword, fake, fake, fake. See you guys later.